Hi, my name is Stephanie Moorhand, and I have the privilege of serving as a delegate to the jurisdictional conference on behalf of Western North Carolina. And why is this important to me, and what does it mean to me, is simply this, is that the clergy persons of Western North Carolina believed that I could be a representative of the church that is becoming, and that I would discern the business of the jurisdictional conference. And one of those things is electing our Episcopal leaders for the Southeastern jurisdiction and other business, that I would not do it lightly, but I would take it seriously, discern, using my spiritual gifts to understand clearly where is God leading the church and aligning my vote with those things. And I count it a high privilege. The second question in which I was asked to speak to was the Southeastern Jurisdictional Conference that was held July 21st, 2021 at Lake Junaluska. The sole purpose of the conference, in an email that got sent out on May 26, 2021 by Bishop Lawson Bryan, who's the president of the Southeastern Jurisdiction College of Bishops. And the special session was called to gain a quorum for the purpose of voting on a resolution for the Tennessee and Memphis conferences to unite the two conferences into one conference, and the new name being Tennessee Western Kentucky Conference. During our delegation gathering virtually, 99.1% of the delegation voted in affirmative that these two conferences could merge and form the Tennessee Western Kentucky Conference. Bishop McAlilly was present, along with his leadership of the two conferences, the lay leaders, Holly Neal from the Tennessee Conference and Janie McCallan from the Memphis Conference, as well as Reverend Melinda Britt, Reverend Rob Martin, who were the co-chairs for the guide team through this process. Now, this process has been going on for numerous years to discern what was God calling the church to become between these two annual conferences. During the chat session where people could send in their questions, Bishop Swanson, who was the presiding bishop for the Southeastern Jurisdictional Conference, shared with the delegation that a question came in asking, why did these two conferences decide to merge? And Reverend Britt and Reverend Martin, along with Miss Neal and Miss McCallan, simply stated this, is that the two conferences have been doing business separately, and they realized that they were better together. They were better together with people resources. They were better together with economic resources. And most importantly, they were better together to simply live fully into making disciples for the transformation of the world. I call that casting their net wider. In order to do that, they felt very strongly that they needed to do it together. And we celebrate that 99.1% affirmation from the delegation to say, yes, we believe in that as well. Bishop Hope Morgan Ward and Bishop Jonathan Holston were our two Episcopal leaders who were leading the programs and agenda team in which I had the privilege of serving on to put together the Southeastern Jurisdictional Conference at Lake Junaluska. And one of the things that they said in their discernment and our discernment is that we have to do not only the business of the church, but because we're the church, we need to worship and celebrate the things that are going exceptionally well in the various annual conferences of the jurisdiction. So we focused on worship, but even in our worship, we also lamented the tragedies that were happening when it comes to racial equity and justice in our annual conferences with all of God's people. And so this quadrennial, this sessions, we dealt with race relations as well as the COVID crises in the world. And so we celebrated the annual conferences in the local churches that created vaccination clinics. We celebrated and we shown the challenges of race relations just inside the walls of the church, not even necessarily in America and throughout the globe. and the churches that were lifted up from each annual conference shows that just because the doors of the church were closed through COVID, the work of the church continued on, because doors doesn't close the kingdom work that we're called to do. Brothers and sisters, siblings, we have much work to do, much work to bind our hearts together, to really be siblings of the Most High God through race relations, through inclusive church, through ensuring that we are relevant in this present age in our communities. Because after all, the mandate states we're to go into all the world, making disciples for the transformation of the world. I pray to God that we live fully into that. Thank you for the opportunity.